The Kovacs Kyles of Overwatch. Fresh off some Addy and shredding through your team, leaving you questioning if they are cheating or not. All jokes aside, today we're going over the Hitscan role with an organized Overwatch team play. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Before I introduce our guest for today's video, I just want to let you all know that I will be making a video about the open division fiasco that is going on. To any Path to Pro viewers watching this video, yeah, I'm with ya. The announcement was whack. Needless to say, I will be working with Regen's very own Aqua to make sure the video is informative and to the point. Moving on, however, most of you came to learn about Hitscan, and who is better to teach you the ropes than the man himself? Take it away, Noxious.
Hi, my name is Noxious. I was the previous Hitscan for Last Hope and Contenders Trials NA, and for Triumph Gaming GG. Through my time as a competitive Overwatch player, I've played tons of different heroes, but I've had extensive practice in the Hitscan role. While playing this role, you'll generally see yourself play heroes such as Widowmaker, Ashe, McCree, Tracer, and some others. Throughout this video, I will explain certain concepts that I believe are important as a Hitscan DPS player, and talk a little bit about the heroes themselves. So let's get right into it. Now, let's talk communication. Believe it or not, one of the most important things as a Hitscan is communication. And a really known stereotype of this role is just click heads and don't talk. But realistically, doing this makes you extremely vulnerable. For example, if you're a Widowmaker and a Ball, a Tracer, or even both of them dive you at the same time, staying silent and not asking for resources from your team will get you killed every single time, and you will not be able to do your job properly. Also, a huge part of communication as a Hitscan, or as a DPS in general, is setting up your own plays, which basically requires you to talk about what you require from your team to enable you and when you're going to make that play. This will help a lot, not only with your own performance as a player, but also help your team since you're going to get the most value possible out of all your plays. Now, let's talk Crosshair Placement. This is something that requires a lot of time and practice if you're new to FPS games. But the most important thing when you aim is to always aim at the head level. So if someone walks around a corner, you don't, or slightly, need to adjust your crosshair in order to kill them. This might require a lot of practice and game sense, but it is definitely one of the most important things as a Hitscan, or as any other role that requires some sort of aim. This will also transition well into other FPS games if you play more than one. Moving on to consistency. This term is used a lot to judge players on their skills and assets. But what does it really mean? Consistency is acting or doing something the same way, over and over again, and doing the said thing accurately pretty much every single time. In the Overwatch Pro scene, consistency is what defines a player, and sometimes it can be quite hard for us to keep up with that. Why, may you ask? Well, simply because it can be a very stressful factor for a player, especially in important matches where you know you can't make any mistakes. Personally, I'm someone that plays well under pressure, and during matches, I don't stress a lot, and I'm able to just focus on what I practice in scrims or comp. But it can be very hard for certain people to do that, especially if you don't have a ton of experience in the scene. The best way to work on your consistency is to work hard and practice on a daily basis, whether it's FFA, comp, scrims, or any other activity. It doesn't really matter. Do what fits you and make the best practice you can out of every minute you play. Okay, now let's briefly talk about hero pools. Understand that while some characters are not necessarily Hitscan, in a team environment, some heroes may vary depending on a player's hero pool. For example, in a composition with Monkey, Diva, Tracer, Sombra, Mora, and Lucio, some Hitscan players may end up playing Sombra if they're comfortable in the hero. Also, Flex DPS players usually play Tracer quite often, so instead of learning a completely new hero, they can play what they know and focus on improving both individually and as a team faster. Let's move on to the heroes themselves. First off, we have Widowmaker. She is one of the most impactful snipers in Overwatch. Equipped with a powerful scope rifle, she is capable of taking down anyone in her sight with a single fully charged headshot. And she is still able to deal serious damage with body shots. Her Infrasight and Venom Mine give her and her team considerable information on enemy movements, allowing them to easily counter ambushes and coordinate pushes. Widowmaker thrives in the mid to long range, and if she stays uncontested during a competitive match, you can bet the enemy team will get salty. Widow is also one of these characters who require a lot of game sense and relatively good aim to gain value on, simply because of her low HP and the fact that she can be countered quite easily by dive heroes such as Monkey, Ball, Tracer, Genji, and many more. A tip I have against flankers is to always have your Venom Mine blocking flank angles. That way, if an enemy flanker tries to deal with you, you'll be able to spot them relatively quickly and be aware of their position. Next up, we have Ashe. This hero requires really good mechanical skill to be played effectively. Our weapon is quite powerful at close to mid-range, and she requires really good positioning in order to thrive and terrorize any game she's being played in. If you are in a good spot and end up being super close to your enemies mid-fight, it gets very hard to click heads and confirm kills. Also, Ashe is a character who can be even more powerful with the Mercy Pocket, making her headshots one-shot kills, and she has the ability to make the team against you rage quite a bit if she isn't being dealt with. A tip I would have for anyone trying to learn Ashe would be to hold on to Dynamite for crucial moments. For example, on Anamura First Defense, where most teams will rotate together and stack up. That would be a good moment to use Dynamites, simply because the more targets you hit, the faster you'll build Bob, along with the added pressure you will apply to the enemy team. Moving on to Tracer. Tracer is a close-range skirmishing hero who specializes in speed and single target damage. Her mobility and high single target damage makes her excellent at picking key targets with very low risk. Tracer can quickly traverse a map with the use of her blinks to outflank her enemies, deal damage to them, and then retreat before they have a chance to respond. The only tricky thing with Tracer is her 150 HP, which makes her quite vulnerable if she's being played in an open space. If I could give one piece of advice to get better at Tracer, it would be to try to reduce your hitbox as much as possible. What I mean by that is to play corners and behind objects around the map. Doing so will make it much harder for enemy players to tear you down, and you'll become a real backline farmer. The last hero I will be featuring in this video is McCree. McCree is one of the game's best duelists. He is capable of killing almost anyone he gets up close with a simple flash and a headshot. This character also has insane damage output and 225 HP, which makes him one of the best DPS heroes and best picks at the moment. The only thing to keep in mind with McCree is that he doesn't have a lot of mobility. So try to play where your team can support you as much as possible, and try to not put yourself at risk too much by overextending. Finally, I'll be talking about my Sens. So I play on 6.25 in-game Sens and 1200 DPI, which granted is quite fast. A lot of people won't necessarily agree with the Sens, say it's bad or whatever. It's not for everyone, and do what's best for you. Don't try to copy anybody else's Sens. Like, do what you feel is right, and I can't wait to see you pop off as a new Hitscan player.
Thank you so much, Noxious, for helping me out with this week's video. If you guys learned anything or enjoyed the content, give it a like and consider subscribing. Also, if you guys are interested in learning more or have an additional question, be sure to join my Discord so that Noxious or myself can help you out. Link in the description. I do stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4 PM Eastern if you'd rather have a live response instead. So, thank you so much for watching, but until next time, I've got to peace out and paz out. I'll see you in the next one.